Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of The World Today. It is a Southwest Network program of Radio Nigeria, Ibadan Zonal Station, comprising news and feature. In the lineup, JAMB gets new registrar. Petroleum regulatory body move to end overlaps on foreign scene. Philippines justice orders arrest of fugitive senator. Democratic Republic of Congo cancels World Cup training camp over Ebola outbreak. Heart of the matter is on curbing the spread of meningitis. My name is Stephen Agbaje. With me on the news is
Olushola Akinropo. You can listen to us live stream www.radionigeriaibadan.gov.ng or watch us live on Facebook at Premier FM 93.5. Rain is here. Ensure you keep yourself warm. Now the news in detail. President Bola Tinubu has appointed Professor Shegwaina as the new registrar of the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB, succeeding Professor Ishaq Oluyede, whose two-term tenure expires on July 31 this year. A statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Information Strategy, Mr. Bayo Nonoga, states that President Tinubu expects Professor Aina to bring to bear his vast experience, knowledge and practical insight into the operations of the board to take the critical educational organization beyond the laudable heights achieved by his predecessor. Professor Aina, who will be 40 years old in July, is a distinguished academic and systems expert with extensive experience in national examination systems, digital infrastructure, and public sector institutional reform. He holds a Bachelor of Engineering in Computer Systems Engineering from the University of Kent and MSc in Internet Computing and Network Security and a PhD in Digital Signal Processing, both from Loughborough University, United Kingdom. Professor Aina began his career with JAMB during his National Youth Service, gaining foundational experience in national admissions and data-driven institutional processes.
Meanwhile, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, has released 279 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination results that had earlier been withheld for further investigation. The board spokesperson, Mr. Fabian Benjamin, confirmed the development on X, noting that the latest release was in addition to results previously published. According to Mr. Benjamin, the release followed a painstaking review of cases flagged for suspected examination malpractice. The board advises candidates yet to access their results to check their status by sending UTME results to 55019 or 66019. via the same phone number used during registration. The 2026 UTME held between April 16 and 25th across accredited computer-based test centers nationwide.
A growing number of parents across your state are increasingly turning their backs in public.
In recent years, a growing number of parents across Oyo State have increasingly opted for private owned schools over public institutions despite the additional financial burden. This trend, observable in urban centers like Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, and extending to towns such as Ogbomoso and Iseyin, reflects deeper concerns about quality infrastructure and the overall learning environment within the state's education system. One of the most significant drivers of this shift is the perceived decline in the quality of education of most of the public schools. Stakeholders in the sector have pointed to persistent challenges such as poor infrastructure, overcrowded classrooms, and limited teaching materials. In their separate reactions, Some parents in Ibadan cited improved academic performance and access to better learning opportunities as key factors influencing their decisions. A secondary school teacher, Mrs. Temitope Adesiyan, said even if parents choose private schools for their young children at elementary level, they should let them mature before sending them off to.
The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission (NUPRC) and the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority (NMDPRA) have pledged deeper collaboration to eliminate regulatory uncertainties and strengthen investor confidence across Nigeria's petroleum industry. The commitment followed a courtesy visit by the new authority chief executive of the NMDPRA, Mr. Rabiu Umar, to the headquarters of the NUPRC in Abuja. According to a statement issued by the head of media and corporate communications at the NUPRC, Eniola Akinkotu, both agencies reaffirmed their shared responsibility for the overall health and stability of Nigeria's oil and gas industry. The statement noted that the regulators agreed on the need to speak with one voice on issues affecting operators, investors, and the broader energy market. He added that both agencies acknowledged that they derive their authority from the Petroleum Industry Act and stressed that the industry would function more efficiently when that shared legal foundation translates into coordinated regulatory action.
The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) in Rivers State has announced that a by-election to fill the vacant Rivers Southeast Senatorial seats will be held on 20th of next month. The resident electoral commissioner in the state, Dr. Johnson Sinekem, made this known in a statement he personally signed. Dr. Sinekem disclosed that the vacancy followed the death of the lawmaker who represented the district, Barina Da Nkpigi. The Rivers State Rec noted that the by-election would take place in 88 registration wards, 1,629 polling units in 7 local government areas. He listed the affected local government areas as Andoni, Okpobo, Nkoro, Eleme, Tai, Oyibo, Kana, and Gokana. Dr. Sinekem explained that preparations are underway to ensure a smooth and credible election process, urging political parties and stakeholders to comply with established guidelines.
Ahead of this year's Eid al-Kabir celebration, ram selling sports have begun to surface across major parts of Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. The sports complement existing markets at Iyana Academy, Iwo Road, Bodija Cow Market, and Kara Ram and Cow Market in Akinyele local government area of the state. Speaking with Radio Nigeria, a trader at Ikolaba Ram selling sport along Federal Secretariat Road, Ibadan, Mr. Nuruddin Saka, said patronage remained low despite the availability of different varieties of animals such as rams and goats. Mr. Saka attributed the rising cost of rams to the increase in fuel pump prices as well as the prevailing security challenges across the country. He appealed to the government to ensure prompt payment of workers' salaries to enable Muslims celebrate the festive season comfortably and for sales at the market to be improved.
For many Nigerians, the rainy season is usually welcomed with excitement, especially by farmers who depend on rainfall for a productive harvest. But for residents of some communities in Ido local government area of your state, the season has once again brought fear, hardship, and uncertainty over the safety and continued access to Ibadan metropolis. The recent heavy rainfall in Ibadan has further deteriorated portions of the Ibadan-Abeokuta road and the bridge linking several communities to the Oyo State capital, raising fears that residents may soon be completely cut off if urgent intervention is not carried out by the relevant authorities. Against this backdrop, our environment correspondent Rashida Makinde visited some of the affected communities where anxious residents narrated the ordeal and expressed concern that by July, the road could become totally impossible if no urgent action is taken.
Residents of communities including Omiadio, Banoda, Bako, Onigbagbo, Jamoje, Bakatari and Kila along the Ogun State boundary lamented that the bridge and portions of the road usually overflow whenever it rains, making movement difficult for motorists and other road users. The residents explained that the situation has become worse around the Jamoje area near Command Secondary School, Ibadan, where erosions and floodwater have severely damaged parts of the road, having commuters stranded for hours, especially during every evening rainfall. According to the former chairman of the community, Alhaji Kamaruddin Tiamiyu, vehicles traveling from both the Ibadan and Abeokuta directions now take turns cautiously at the narrow and falling portion of the road to avoid accidents.
For several years now, we have been having a series of challenges as regards persistent flooding, and we have made complaints to the right quarter. In fact, on a yearly basis in the last 4 years, they have been coming to do reparation, except last year.
Some residents and landlords association members also blame the flooding on the abandoned section of the Circular Road project around Bako Junction, saying the development had exposed farmlands, houses and the major road to severe flooding following recent downpour. They expressed disappointment over what they described as years of neglect on the Ibadan-Abeokuta road, despite its economic importance as a major link between Oyo and Ogun states. Community leaders said they have repeatedly appealed to relevant authorities, including the Ministry of Works and Environment, and are yet to yield positive results, while local residents continue to make temporary efforts to prevent the collapse of the Jamoje Bridge.
We discovered that each time that we have rainy season like this, we normally have problem of flood, both left and right of this Omiadio.
There is need for the federal government to take note of the fact that Oyo and Ogun State use this road. Whenever there is rain, it will cut part of the Omiadio section and Apata.
The affected residents have therefore appealed to both the federal and Oyo state governments to urgently intervene by rehabilitating the damaged section of the road and returning to the abandoned Circular Road project site before more communities are cut off and hundreds of residents rendered homeless by flooding. In Ibadan, Rashida Makinde, Radio Nigeria.
This is the world today, the stories that made the headlines. President Tinubu has appointed Professor Segun Aina as new JAMB registrar. Petroleum regulatory body has moved to end overlaps. Still to come, Philippines justice orders arrest of fugitive senator. Democratic Republic of Congo cancels World Cup training camp over Ebola outbreak. Details shortly.
Glad to know that you're still there listening to the news. Now the rest of the news. Ashwebi is a Yoruba phrase for family uniform. It is a tradition where members of a family, friends or guests wear matching outfit at ceremonies. In the past, the act is more common among the Yorubas, but now almost every tribe in African countries have embraced this practice. In this special report, Moturayo Wolabi x-rays the economic importance and other views on this act.
According to cultural observers, Ashwebi remains one of the most colorful and influential elements of Nigerian ceremonial life. Beyond blood ties, it has grown to represent solidarity, friendship, and collective belongings among group and social gatherings. The practice also serves as a visual identity marker, helping to distinguish family members, friends, and associates during events. From weddings and funerals to naming ceremonies, birthdays, and housewarmings, coordinated attire has become almost indispensable. However, over time, what was once symbolic has, in some cases, taken a competitive dimension. Social groups, often referred to as Ege, now strive to outdo one another in style, fabric quality, and overall presentation. In many instances, the choice of attire, color themes, and accompanying accessories reflect not just taste, but also perceived social status and affluence. What then is the perspective of residents of Ibadan on this evolving trend? While some applaud its cultural value, others argue that it has become financially burdensome and at times exploitative.
The Asoebi, it makes people happy. Psychologically or emotionally, it helps people to be lifted in their mind.
If some people are doing occasions, if you don't wear Asoebi, they will not allow you inside. Some people will have access card, but some people, that Asoebi is their access card.
Years like this, it fosters unity.
The only disadvantage I see with Asoebi is people that are using it as business. Some people go and buy Asoebi 3,000 at the market. They will be selling it 6,000, 8,000, 10,000. In those days, when they buy Asoebi, they don't have money.
Reacting to the development, a professor in the Department of English and Cultural Studies at the University of Ibadan, Professor Ademola Da Silva, noted that despite its cultural significance, the excesses associated with Asoebi have had unintended social consequences, including contributing to financial strain in relationships.
It has been so commoditized that some people so much believe in it that they would rather spend so much money getting their own group uniform at the expense of other very important needs, including care of the children, school fees, and all of that. Anything that is not done in moderation cannot be considered to be good.
Professor Da Silva, however, advised Nigerians to embrace moderation, stressing that cultural expression should not come at the expense of financial stability or personal well-being. In the end, Asoebi remains a powerful cultural expression, one that beautifully tells stories of belonging and celebration. Yet, like many evolving traditions, its true value may lie not in extravagance, but in the sincerity of the unity it was originally meant to represent. In Ibadan, Motunrayo Owolabi, Radio Nigeria.
The kidnapped vice chairman of Ileje Major Local Government Area of Ekiti State, Mrs. Grace Ogunleye, has regained her freedom from her abductors. The police public relations officer, Ekiti State Command, Mr. Sunday Abutu, who disclosed this in a statement in Ado Ekiti, said the council official was rescued unhurt. Mr. Abutu noted that the breakthrough came as a result of a joint operation by the police, the military and other security agencies, as well as local security personnel who embarked on a rescue mission and mounted pressure on the hoodlums. He added that the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Michael Falade, has ordered a thorough investigation into the incident in order to unravel the cause and those behind it.
To tighten security in Oyo State, Governor Seyi Makinde has signed Executive Order Number 001 of 2026 to regulate, register and coordinate associations, groups and organizations providing security and allied services across Oyo State. The executive order signed at his residence in Ibadan comes amid ongoing efforts to rescue students and teachers recently abducted in Orire local government area of the state. Governor Makinde noted that the order was a further step in his administration's commitment to protecting lives and property. He stressed that while security is a collective duty, the growing sophistication of insecurity demands clearer coordination and accountability. Governor Makinde revealed that his government was working with stakeholders to secure safe release of abductees, urged residents to avoid actions that could spark ethnic tension. Earlier, Commissioner for Justice, Mr. Abiodun Aikomo, explained that the order targets groups with a manpower strength of more than 5 people offering security services in any part of the state. Mr. Aikomo said the measure is intended to prevent unintended consequences that arise when unregulated groups take on security roles. Noted that existing groups have 72 hours to notify the government for documentation and certification.
The Democratic Republic of Congo has cancelled its pre-World Cup training camp in the capital Kinshasa because of an Ebola outbreak in the east of the country. A spokesperson for the national football team, Jerry Kalimon, told newsmen that the pre-tournament games in Europe would go ahead as planned as the squad gears up for their first World Cup since 1974. Democratic Republic of Congo are due to play friendly matches against Denmark on the 3rd of next month, June, in Belgium, and Chile on 9th June in Spain, ahead of the World Cup finals. The World Health Organization, WHO, has called the outbreak a public health emergency of international concern, but said it was not at pandemic level.
The Philippine Justice Secretary, Mr. Frederick Vida, has ordered law enforcement to apprehend a senator, Roland Rosa, wanted by the International Criminal Court ICC for alleged crimes against humanity, a day after the country's top court rejected his bid to block his arrest. Report says Senator Roland Rosa, the former police chief and lead enforcer in the deadly so-called war on drugs during Rodrigo Duterte's 2016-2022 presidency, will be tracked down, and anyone helping him evade arrest would face consequences. Mr. Vida did not elaborate on the leads authorities have on the location of De La Rosa, though the senator's lawyers indicated this week he was in the Philippines. De La Rosa emerged from 6 months of hiding last week and took refuge. Out of the Matter today takes a look at curbing the spread of meningitis. It is written by Fauzia Kashim of our Current Affairs Unit.
Last week's confirmation of the death of 33 children following an outbreak of cerebrospinal meningitis in parts of Sokoto State shall be a wake-up call to concerned authorities and other stakeholders to prevent a reoccurrence of a disease that has become a recurrent decimal in the country. This is coming after a recent public health warning by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, to residents of some northern states about the heightened risk of the disease due to high temperatures, low humidity, and increased dust concentration. Meningitis has become an unwelcome seasonal visitor, which resurfaces almost every dry season, leaving behind a trail of avoidable death, overwhelmed health systems, and grieving communities, especially across the northern state. Meningitis is an acute inflammation of the protective organs and membranes with layers surrounding the brain and spinal cord. In most cases, the disease becomes intense and widespread during heat period and in areas where there is no ventilation. NIMET noted that groups such as children and young adults, people living in overcrowded settings, individuals exposed to dry, dusty environments, and persons with weakened immune systems are at higher risk to the infection. Experts identifies early symptoms as key to preventing fatalities while listing sudden high fever, severe headaches, neck stiffness, nausea or vomiting, and sensitivity to light as warning sign. Although states that will be affected by the disease include Sokoto, Zamfara, Kebbi, Katsina, Kano, among others, it is important for other states to be on red alert to avert other public health disaster. Experts have repeatedly warned that the country usually suffers meningitis around this time of the year when dry season is turning to raining season, especially in the area called the meningitis belt. To worsen matters, the disease spreads across the entire West African sub-region in the first quarter of every year. To reduce the risk of infection, NIMET encourages the public to get vaccinated, practice good hygiene, avoid overcrowding, and seek early medical care. Health facilities, especially primary health centers, should also be equipped enough to manage cases where secondary and tertiary health facilities are not available. Mass vaccination campaigns should be conducted proactively before the onset of the dry season, particularly in high-risk states, while routine immunization must also be strengthened to include border meningitis coverage. It is pertinent for government to make it mandatory for corps members posted to meningitis-prone areas to get vaccinated. Government at all levels and all critical stakeholders need to expedite collaborative actions on preventive measures. There is an urgent need for a public enlightenment campaign by the National Orientation Agency, NOAA, especially for people in the rural areas to be aware of the dangers the meningitis poses. There is also the need for a strategy that would help put an end to what has become an annual death sentence to many Nigerians. Addressing underlying social determinants like overcrowding, malnutrition, and poverty, which exacerbate vulnerability, is key to curbing the spread, while long-term solutions must include investments in housing, education, and economic empowerment.
That script on curbing the spread of meningitis was written by Fauzia Kashim of our Current Affairs Unit and read by Belinda Quadri.
To end the news on the world today from the stable of Radio Nigeria, here again are the day's top stories. President Bola Tinubu has appointed Professor Segun Aina as the new registrar of the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board JAMB, succeeding Professor Ishaq Oluyede, whose two-term tenure expires July 31 this year. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission (NUPRC) and the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority have pledged deeper collaboration to eliminate regulatory uncertainties and strengthen investigator confidence across Nigeria's petroleum industry. The Philippine Justice Secretary, Mr. Frederick Vida, has ordered law enforcement to apprehend a senator wanted by Roland Rosa, the International Criminal Court (ICC), for alleged crimes against humanity, a day after the country's top court rejected his bid to block his arrest. And lastly, we told you on the news that the Democratic Republic of Congo has cancelled its pre-World Cup training camp in the capital Kinshasa because of an Ebola outbreak in the east of the country.
And that's it on the world today. Join us tomorrow for a fresh edition of the program. Mudukbe Toba edited. My name is Stephen Agbaje. From my colleague
Olushola Akinroko, thank you very much for being part of the news. Good afternoon.